Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I kind of wanted to talk about the iPhone 6 and why it's more important in 2020 than a lot of you guys might think. And the same kind of thinking could go along with the iPhone 5S as well. But with the iPhone 6 specifically, when this phone came out, it was actually one of the best-selling phones of all time, and is still currently the best-selling iPhone of all time, which is pretty insane. And obviously this phone, I've made so many videos about. It kind of actually built this channel because one of my most popular tech videos is about the iPhone 6, which is pretty insane. So I have a lot of love for this phone. It has done a lot for me in my life, and I think for the time being, when it was kind of the first 2 years when it was out, besides that Bendgate issues that the 6 Plus and the 6 kind of had, it was a very, very good phone for the time being, for at least a little bit. And then this phone kind of didn't really do so well over time. And even now in 2020, it doesn't really hold up too well. But there's a certain aspect about this phone that's actually very, very, very important in 2020, and how I can think the future of Apple can actually go and learn a lot from the iPhone 6 besides the hardware issues. And that specific thing is iOS. And what's more important about iOS is that, as we've seen with all these other iOS versions, typically once a newer version of iOS comes out, the older versions of iOS tend to not get any updates at all. So we saw it with like iOS 9, once those phones came out, once iOS 10 came out, that software didn't really get updates. It didn't even get an update until I think last year, when the iPhone 5 and iPhone 4S randomly got an update out of nowhere, and that really shocked the whole entire nation. So they pushed the update for those, and that's only been one update for those. It hasn't got an update since. But on iOS 12, for some reason, and it's a good reason, I like this a lot, Apple is still pushing updates to the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 5S, but specifically the iPhone 6, even almost a full year later after it was supposed to be done. So they've just lengthened the lifespan of that specific software for those specific phones, which is really, really impressive. And what I find even more impressive of this is that as they're focusing on iOS 13 and building iOS 14, they're still pushing updates to the iPhone 6, and apparently it's going to be getting iOS 12.4.6 at some point, which is going to be insane. It's getting those many security updates over time. And Apple already had kind of a stereotype of, lengthening and prolonging the life of their phones, which is an awesome thing. But now they're doing that again with the iPhone 6. And so it's supposed to stop with, I believe, iOS 12.4. Then it got 12.4.1 and 12.4.2, and it just kept getting these updates. And Apple knows that a ton of people probably still use those phones, and they're not trying to take advantage of them. They're not trying to go out of their way. Now, Apple does a lot of dumb things, but in this case, I think it's, I have to hype Apple up. I think they did a really, really good job by doing this. And now the reason this is important, why I think Apple's going to continue this, is because they're going to start switching away from basically pushing out those software updates like iOS 13 and then iOS 14 and then stop doing iOS 13. I think they're still going to continue on those devices that are supported with iOS 13, pushing updates to those specific devices. And I think that's actually really, really impressive because they're focusing on those devices. They're not focusing on the iPhone 6s and iPhone 10 and iPhone 11s when they're pushing out those iOS 12 updates. They're focusing on those specific phones, and I think that's really, really cool. They see a ton of people still using them, and they see possible vulnerabilities, and they know that they need to push updates to keep those phones secure for those people. Now, the reason this is important in the future is because once the iPhone 6s, iPhone SE, whatever those phones, whether they get iOS 13 or not, they're still going to be getting software updates in terms of iOS 13 potentially. Now, if Apple only did this one time, then I would be like, okay, whatever, like with the 4S and 5, but they've repeatedly pushed out updates, and they're almost going to be pushing out another one with iOS 12.4.6. So for my 6S and SE users, and the 6S Plus included, once iOS 14 gets it or you don't get it, you're still going to potentially be getting an extra year of software support on top of that with security updates, which is very impressive. And once the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus come out and stop getting support and all that, maybe it'll still get an extra year of software security updates on top of that on iOS 14 or iOS 15, whatever version it stops. So yeah, you're technically a year behind, but also at the same time, you're technically not. And this all basically happened because of the iPhone 5S and more, with the iPhone 6 specifically, in my opinion. By following those blueprints, I think Apple has a very strong future ahead of them. And with the current situation we're in, I think security and all these things, Apple kind of wants to focus a little bit more on iOS and software than hardware because they can't really do too much in terms of hardware right now. So that's a very impressive thing, and I have a lot of respect for Apple for doing that. So that's the reason why I think the iPhone 6 is so important in 2020. Again, it's not a deal breaker. It doesn't have to do with anything with price or anything, but the software and software release is very, very impressive. And hopefully Apple will continue this with the next phones and the next phones that gets unsupported and all that stuff. So that's really pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that means so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. All those links are linked down below. I really appreciate if you guys could check it out. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.